Good morning and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Berkeley. I'm Reverend Marcus Leifert and I'm so glad that you are here. If you are visiting with us this morning, especially we offer our welcome to you. Folks at the welcome table in the atrium would be happy to answer any questions that you have after the service. No matter who you are or how you make your living, no matter whom you love or how you experience the sacred, we hope that you will feel welcome in the fullness of yourself here with us. We have a memory book at the podium in the back. If there's something heavy on your heart or something joyous to celebrate that you'd like read aloud and shared with our community this morning, you're always welcome to write there and light a candle, or light a candle without writing anything. That's a place to honor that which we bring into this room together. We've been on a tour these last few weeks of our theological house, this house that we inherit as Unitarian Universalists, where we do believe each of us is responsible for our own beliefs, and yet we inherit a house of theology. We've taken a tour of some of the elements, the walls that shape our community, the doorways about beginnings and endings, that sheltering roof that gets us through the hard night. And today we've arrived at that part of the tour that homeowners, you may dread. We're going to look at the foundation and wonder what it is that we as Unitarian Universalists hold in common about our ideas of human and divine nature. What is God to us? Once more, welcome. So glad you're here. Will you rise in body or spirit, and we'll sing together, Bring Many Names. 23 in that gray hymnal.
Yes. Please be seated. Good morning. I'm Smiley, and I'm your worship associate today. And as we light our chalice to begin our service, we remind ourselves that our church occupies the land in Huchiun. It's the unceded territory of the Chochenyo-speaking Ohlone people. May we have the humility and the courage to do our part to restore what has been broken and the wisdom to live into a new solidarity with indigenous communities and the earth. Let us kindle our chalice flame with these words by Barbara Wells. O spinner, weaver of our lives, your love, your loom is love. May we who are gathered here be empowered by that love to weave new patterns of truth and justice into a web of life that is strong, beautiful, and everlasting. Would you please join me in saying our covenant? Love guides this church. The quest for truth and justice is its common purpose. To give thanks, listen deeply, speak with care, honor our differences, and seek and grant forgiveness. These things we covenant with one another.
If you are young of body or young of heart, I invite you to join me for a story on stage, on chancel. Hi. Yeah. Can I ask you for a special favor? Can you turn the page? Yeah, would you like to do it? Okay, can you come sit closer to me? Okay. So, as we find our foundation, I want to take a moment and just say, hi, everybody. It's so amazing to see your beautiful faces. Look at all of your faces. This is new. This is wonderful. Good morning. So, as we're finding our foundation, we have to take a moment to truly see each other. The skin I'm in is just a covering. It cannot tell my story. The skin I'm in is just a covering. If you want to know who I am, you have got to come inside and open your heart way, way, way wide. The skin I'm in looks good to me. It will let you know one small way to trace my identity. But then again, the skin I'm in will always be just a covering. It cannot tell my story. If you want to know who I am, you have got to come inside. Be with me on the inside of me, all made up of stories, present, past, and future. Some true to life, others all fun and fantasy, all the way that I imagine me. You can find out all about me coming close and letting go of who you might think I am. Before you come inside and let me be real, and you become real to me. All real then, in that place, where skin again is one small way to see me, but not real enough to be all the me, or the you of you. For we are all inside, made up of real history, real dreams, and all the stuff of all that we hope for when we can be all real together on the inside of this foundation that we are building. Blessed be. And so I would like to invite our children to meet us in the hallway for RE. Parents, you can come too if you want to. So we will have RE for K through 3 in the RE building. We'll have someone to escort them there. And we will have our 4 through high school age RE happening in the fireside room. So please join us if you would like.
Sing and rejoice, sing and rejoice, let all things living now sing and rejoice, sing and rejoice, sing and rejoice, let all things living now sing and rejoice, sing and rejoice, sing and rejoice, let all things living now sing and rejoice, sing and rejoice, sing and rejoice.
I am smiling, and I am an alcoholic. You're supposed to say, hi, Smiley, when I do that. Let's try it again. I'm Smiley and I am an alcoholic. Three things define my childhood: alcohol, regular beatings, and unbridled anger. And I left my childhood with a fervent need to be independent and isolate. Because if I joined something, if I got close to people, if I gave myself, I would get hurt. And I've carried that throughout my life, and I've gotten a bit better at it. It would be difficult. I join organizations, and I just be the outlier most of the time. I've had my difficulties with UUCB. But the biggest difficulty I've had with maintaining my absolute fervent independence and isolation is having a spiritual relationship with anyone, anything, whatever it may be. Except in basic training, I prayed every day and I went to church on Sunday that I'd get out of there. In a way, that was an abuse. But I would not be close to God or Zoroaster or the universal spirit because I didn't want to. I was too independent. So then I started back this year in AA and doing the 12 steps. The first 3 steps pertain to having a relationship with a higher power, which is your higher power, absolutely yours. AA philosophy and religion and you are pretty much similar. It's your gig. So I was working the first 3 steps, and I was sitting in my office, and I looked at the wall and the door, and I closed my eyes. And this blue, light blue tint came over the image that I saw of the door and the walls. And then I opened my eyes, and God came into my life. It's the most amazing thing I've experienced. So I'm thinking, what do I do now? One thing I'm working on in my recovery is I am really expecting a lot from people and from myself. It gets me in a lot of trouble. I believe that expectations are a judgment. At least that's how I use them. You're not what you should be. I think you need to do this. Also, expectations are nothing more than a precursor to disappointment or maybe heartache. So I don't want to do expectations. So I prayed to God, what do I do? And she sent me 4 words that are now the foundation of my life. Expect nothing from everyone. Expect nothing from everyone. Thank you.
I invite you to take a moment to rest more deeply in your seat, to take a deeper breath, to feel your connection down to this good earth. Jacob slept with a rock for his pillow, and in the night, dreaming upon this ancient foundation, this original shrine, he wrestled with a man, an angel, a god, until the day broke. I will not let you go unless you bless me, Jacob said to the one with whom he had tossed and turned through the night. Your name will no longer be Jacob, came the blessing, but Israel, because you have struggled with divine and human beings and have prevailed. You who know what it is to toss and turn through the night, who know how hard the ground can be, you who have struggled with beings of every kind. May Jacob's blessing be your own, so that when thoughts race or the world is too much to arise and face, or when we find the foundation we have built so much life upon was never as solid as we had dreamed, and we're face to face again with the rock, the hard place, may we be blessed by the struggle, by the just breaking dawn, when you find that through all your wrestling you have glimpsed something true, and though that truth cost you dearly, you would now never give up your name as one who has come face to face with the holy, struggled, and survived. And even if you are the only witness to the truth that dawns in you, may the blessing of the solid ground beneath you, the blessing of the bone-wrenching encounter with the world, the harsh and beautiful truth of existing, be enough. May it be enough to build your shrine upon. May we rest in stillness, in silence, together. Each week, in this community of care and witness, we hold one another through the seasons of our lives and lift up some of those joys and sorrows among us. Today with Beth, we remember Grandma Bell for her logic and penmanship. And we hold thoughts with Marin, keeping her fingers crossed for her daughter Susie's procedure tomorrow. We celebrate with Jean, happy birthday to Larry Nagel, with love. And we offer healing thoughts to Patricia Brucker, who was recently hospitalized with pneumonia and is home now. We offer loving memories held close for dear grandfather Dan Gatlin, who left us this week. And with someone, we offer a prayer for those who feel lost, even when sitting in their home, who are looking for purpose, even when doing what they enjoy the most, who feel alone, even when surrounded by those who love them the most. Even if they don't want to speak of their struggles, let us send them love all the same. And I would lift up also this week the life of Dianne Feinstein and all that she broke through to bring more possibility to our society. For all that we have named, all that yet remains in the silent sanctuaries of our hearts, too tender yet for words. May each of us know the truth that what is held by you here is held in the loving embrace of this community and by a deeper, nameless love that cannot and will not let us go. May it be so, and amen. I invite you to remain seated as we sing together once more. It's 10:47, Nada te turbe. So the nature of God and human nature, I know I'm already on a shaky foundation with some of you. But I want to share a little about what I believe. And I want to start a conversation that I imagine many of us will be having for years to come. And I'll begin by telling a couple stories about the midwives who helped my son Henry be born, and partly because it was a moment of glimpsing the holy, that moment of his elongated purple head popping out into this world. But also because I think God was happening all along, not just in that moment. The midwives, they were lovely. I'm going to tell a couple of kind of, not flattering stories about them, but they really were wonderful. But one of them, when she found out that my ex-wife and I were Unitarian Universalist ministers, she said, "Oh, Unitarians, I used to be a Unitarian. I went to a Unitarian fellowship. We were out in upstate New York." And she said, what we came to realize, Unitarians, they won't tell you what to believe, and they won't be there for you when you need them. And it wasn't my experience, hasn't been my experience, but I know what she's talking about. It's something about this question of what can we rely on, what can we be depended on when we don't center a common doctrine. We don't have a common foundation about our beliefs about God and humanity. For decades, our movement, our denomination has struggled with this question of what is our theological center? So a few of my beliefs and then some of our tradition's resources. God, for me, is a verb. I believe that God begins in the underlying processes of the universe, the same processes that eventually result in stardust forming the Milky Way, our solar system, our Earth, that eventually result in life evolving into myriad possibilities, including us, this. God in us, happening through us, through all of it. Which means that, yes, God in those moments of amazement, of a child being born, of a friend holding your hand, of listening to one another over tea, but also God happening in our very worst, present through the most violent and destructive ways we can be. In this way, God is change, as Octavia Butler would put it, one of my favorite books. Many of you, I'm sure, have read it, Parable of the Sower. She describes this young woman struggling to survive and foster community in a post-apocalyptic California as migrants march up abandoned highways towards the north, as violence destroys lives left and right. This daughter of a Christian preacher tries to start a new religion. Earthseed, she calls it, and the core of her faith is simply God is change, shape God. Scattered through the book are fragments of the imagined sacred text of this new religion. God is power, she writes, infinite, irresistible, inexorable, indifferent. And yet God is pliable, trickster, teacher, chaos, clay. God exists to be shaped. God is change. Or in another, any change may bear seeds of benefit, seek them out. Any change may bear seeds of harm, beware. God is infinitely malleable. God is change. And so all this really resonates for me, and it goes along with this arc of thinking that has been named process theology in our theological past, the thinking that God is a verb, that it's this underfolding, undergoing process. And yet, I also believe something that doesn't quite fit with that indifferent God. I believe, as our Universalist ancestors believed, that God is love. This was our Universalist heresy, that God would not damn anyone to hell. That early Universalist preacher John Murray would go around talking about how if we as human parents can forgive our children, certainly a divine parent could forgive even our worst trespasses. Or Hosea Ballou, who was one of those early circuit riders in what we now call New England, the most influential of those circuit riders. He would be found wandering around the New Hampshire hills with a Baptist preacher. And the story goes that one afternoon they argued theology as they traveled. You might imagine the two of them on horseback having a conversation about the Bible. And at one point, the Baptist looks over and says, "Brother Ballou, if I were a Universalist and feared not the fires of hell, I could hit you over the head and steal your horse and saddle and ride away, and I'd still go to heaven." And Hosea Ballou purportedly looked over at him and said, "If you were a Universalist, the idea would never occur to you." I think being a Universalist is about aligning ourselves, our lives, with this mysterious force of love, to make patterns of love visible in the world. And this love, it's really too small a word, but this love, it's the quality of life I most long to embody for myself, the love of self, for others, and for the world. This love, it is what we're coming to name as the center of our theology. And we'll have lots of conversation to come, I'm sure, about that Article 2 revision. Some of you have had some conversation about already the principles and purposes that have existed since, in the current form, since the 80s, a current effort to see if there's a new language to try and name our core values. And in that effort, the central value is love. And the only trouble is, I don't know what love is. I'm pretty sure it's not what makes a Subaru a Subaru. I don't know what love is, but I know that it's saved my life over and over. It's caught me when I've fallen. It's helped me to make sense of my suffering. I don't know what it is, but I believe that whatever it is, whatever complex network of feelings and experiences and ideas I'm trying to convey, to sum it up when I use that word, that it must be rooted in something deeper, something more fundamental than human experience. We know we see love in other animals and in mammals, it's obvious. But I think it must be deeper even than that, something primordial. And when I start talking about love and God in this way, it starts feeling flimsy to me, because I know our culture has squished that word down to try, hallmarkized that word, to make it something that is about feeling loving, about sweetness and romance and maybe friendship and family and pets, but understood primarily as a feeling one has towards another. And yes, love does involve feelings, but As anyone who's ever been loved or loved anyone knows, those feelings are not all sweet, warm, and fluttery. Love does bring us happiness and comfort and pleasure. It can bring us safety and contentment, and it brings us worry and fear, stress and anxiety. Love summons longing and ache, pain and despair and sorrow. Love brings us grief. We can fester over love in bitterness and resentment. Love inspires passion, determination, anger, devotion. So love, I don't think it's a feeling, it's a force, a quality of life that tugs on our hearts, our guts, our spirit, around which we shape our lives. I was thinking about this one day walking out on our beautiful Northern California coastline. You know, those places where you can just see all the way out into the horizon, the cliffs overhanging the ocean. I don't think it stretches the imagination too much to say that the ocean so loves the land that it's always yearning to pull it closer, waves crashing with love again and again against the rocks, and rocks whose love also leaves them attached to the formations that they have made over centuries, holding their shape. The fundamental forces of the universe, forces like gravity and those, physicists talk about the strong and weak nuclear poles and so on. These forces, they are descriptions of how things are bound together, of how matter pulls on matter, of how everything is in relationship to everything else. And this love does have that togetherness quality, that pulling together, but it also has a force of individuation, of becoming more unique and complex expressions, so that no star is like any other, no one's inner landscape merged with another's. And just as it's, I think, the nature of the ocean to show its love in crashing waves, and the nature of the rock to show its love in holding shape, we too have been shaped in such a way. Do you have such a nature? One of my favorite books about parenting that I've read is called The Blessing of a Skinned Knee. And it's a reflection on Jewish parenting. And she talks at one point about these two inherent natures that we each have in the Jewish understanding, these two natures of good and evil in a simplistic sense. But she talks about the one that's our nature for evil is the Yetzer Hara. And the Yetzer Hara says that, yes, this is your force that makes you capable of destruction and hurt, but it's also the capacity for passion and creativity. It's the same place inside. And that as a parent or anyone caring for a young person, developing their nature in relation to this Yetzer Hara inside, that seeing how their particular unique form of destructive, creative, passionate energy, helping them to shape it so that they can use it for a life-enhancing good, is the role of the caregiver. And sadly, I think some of us, maybe all of us to one degree or another, we learn instead of harnessing and riding that aliveness to numb it out because of its potential for evil, to dampen down this holy life force. The neuropsychologists Lawrence Heller and Aline Lapierre name this life force healthy aggression. love expressed through us in the fierce desire for aliveness. And in my experience, that following that path, that aliveness, has been the most important teacher in what it means to have a self. And this self, I think this is maybe common ground for us. Whether you talk about God or not, whether you understand there to be a metaphysical reality interfacing with that self, whether you use humanist language that is purely psychological, all of us have a core, inviolable self. It's what we mean when we say the inherent worth and dignity of every person. It's this self that is what we talk about in Buddha nature, what some refer to as the soul, what William Ellery Channing, who was that first preacher of Unitarianism here on this land, called the powers of the soul. He talked about reason and creativity, about imagination, about the heart and the intellect, about compassion and kindness, all of these as powers of the soul. And that while Jesus may have been an important example of someone who had cultivated them in big ways, rather than diminish the divinity of Jesus, Channing lifted us all up to say we are all like that. We all have these divine capacities, these powers of the soul. That I would say is the same as what we might call a self, a core self, a true self. And we'll talk about that a lot more to come. But we can define this in many ways, but not any way. We do have boundaries about how we talk about God and self. We have boundaries because there are ideas that do harm. I went and saw, I mentioned a couple weeks ago, the exhibit at Hinda Wiley's exhibit at the DeYoung. These young black bodies prone, draped on the ground in ways that immediately bring a whole slew of images of the vulnerability of black bodies in our racist society. And yet, at the same time, are lifted up, illuminated in a transcendent way to emphasize their exquisite humanity, even divinity. Bright colors, closed eyes, and just on the edge of beatific and hurting. In part of the artist's statement, they said, in Western painting, God is represented as light, bathing his figures in a piercing brightness. Instead, Gehinda cites and subverts this centuries-old practice, projecting his figures into a space of reverence historically reserved for Christ, his followers, and by extension, whiteness. And so he exposes how equating light with divinity attributes moral value to color and reveals a key mechanism through which the concept of naturalized whiteness emerges, a means to assert the sanctity of life. Wiley's light infuses his figures with a sense of otherworldly ecstasy that allows them to transcend their precarious conditions and highlights their beauty, dignity, and humanity. What we believe about God and human nature matters. And this life force, this Yetzer Hara, this self that is the foundation of artistry that cries out, no, the light of God is not only for the light-skinned, that declares with the moral agency of love these prone black bodies, these vulnerable young ones in their hoodies and ripped jeans are every bit as divine as European kings and queens, every bit as divine as Christ. So we don't need to agree on whether God is or what God is, but we do need to agree that however we talk about the ground of being, it's the same ground underneath us all. When the midwives, another one of them, heard that we were Unitarian Universalists, she wanted to know more. And Henry's mom explained, she said, well, Unitarian, one source, we're all connected, and Universalist, that I believe in a loving God who wouldn't send anyone to hell. And the midwife took a deep breath. And she said, well, I'm a Christian, which means I believe in a loving God too, but he has standards. You can imagine, she was agape, Emily. And later, after some reflection, after we crowdsourced a response from Facebook friends, many of whom are Unitarian ministers, we had the response, when you're looking for that line, that come back right in the moment. It hadn't come, but we had it later. That line you wish you could just go back in time and say, well, she would have said, in our tradition, we have standards for God. We do. We have standards for a God or for any ultimate truth. These standards, they're the foundation that holds the love at the center of our theology, the foundation that gives that love strength and power. Whether you understand the life force within you in purely humanistic terms or with more mystical language, whether you talk about human nature or energy or spirit or God, may your foundation support you in an ever-growing sacred self. May it strengthen you, nourish and equip you to live your love in ever-widening circles. May it be so, and amen.
We invite you now into the spiritual practice of generosity. Instead of passing the plate, you can give electronically by scanning the QR code on the back of your badge. Or you can put a cash or check donation into the donation envelope that you'll find in back of the pew in front of you. Write your name on it and mark offering plate or pledge, and then put it into the donation box beside the fountain in the atrium as you leave the sanctuary. Each week, half of the offering plate is shared with a nonprofit Good Neighbor organization that's recommended by our wonderful Social Justice Council. And thanks so much for practicing generosity with UUCB and with our good neighbors. The good neighbor for this month is GRIP. Lottie Malik and Ray Westergaard are going to come up, if you would please, and tell us about GRIP.
Good morning. GRIP is an organization that supports disadvantaged people in and around Richmond in a variety of ways, such as offering a place to live for many families who might otherwise be living on the street. They also help these families in other ways, such as giving them 3 free meals a day. But anyone can get a free lunch at GRIP just by walking in off the street, no questions asked. And that's where we come in. UUCB, on the fourth Tuesday of every month, we have volunteers who make sandwiches and in some cases stay on and serve the lunch. And I want to acknowledge and thank the volunteers who have been doing that for quite a long time now. Jane Ramsey, Jim Aycock, Denny Parker, Beth Echeverry, Bob and Mady Hall, and Melissa and Owen Rosales, and especially Larry Nagel. He shows up an hour before everyone else, getting the food prepared, the turkey and the cheese and the mayonnaise and the bread out, and he stays longer than anyone else. He serves the food, he serves soup, and after about 3.5 hours, he goes home. So thank you, Larry, and happy birthday. And yes. And I'm hoping to maybe sign up a few of you to volunteer to help make these sandwiches. I guarantee you it'll be the easiest volunteer job you've ever had. It takes about a half an hour to make these sandwiches. So after about a half an hour of pleasant work, you can talk to your fellow church people, you can leave, or else you can have a bite to eat at Grip and then leave. Finally, I want to also, as Smiley indicated, thank the Social Justice Council for selecting GRIP as the October Good Neighbor.
Yeah, thank you, Ray. I'm Lottie Malik, and raise your hand if you've ever served a meal at GRIP. Yeah, a lot of people from this congregation have been coming all these years. Raise your hand if you've attended the Harmony Walk. Yeah, a lot of people too. So the Harmony Walk is the big annual fundraiser for GRIP, and traditionally it's been a 5K walk around Richmond, and it's been really lovely, but walking is challenging for many of us, and there are a lot of other participant congregations too, and they've basically reported the same thing. So this year, the Harmony Walk Committee decided to do away with the walk and just keep the piece that's really important, which is showing up for GRIP and being there with our interfaith neighbors in Richmond. So there's still a short walk to GRIP for the people who want that, and if you've never been there, you can have a tour, but not mandatory. The main thing is we're getting together at Nickel Park on October 28th. I have these flyers out in the sanctuary. And you can also sign up at their website, which is gripcares.org. And it's just going to be a picnic, a festival in the park. There will be a food truck. There will be live music, guest speakers. There will be fun stuff for kids. If you have kids, you can bring them. But and then just a chance to enjoy our community. There will be booths. Should be a good time from 11 to 2 at Nickel Park. So hope to see you there. And then your registration fee, which we'd appreciate if you register, your $37 will all go toward GRIP and supporting the wonderful work that they do. You get a t-shirt, you get some raffle tickets. The prizes last year were amazing. I'm guessing they're gonna be amazing again. There was a mountain bike, there were tickets to Disney, there was tickets to East Brother Lighthouse. I mean, you wouldn't believe the prizes they got, so you'll definitely wanna come support that. Thank you so much, and hope to see you. Yes?
What does GRIP stand for?
Oh, thank you so much. I meant to say that. GRIP is the Greater Richmond Interfaith Program. It's been going on for over 50 years, and it's a lot of member congregations that came together to, do important things for the community. Thank you for asking. I forgot that. Yes? Yeah, there's a QR code that you can scan, and then you go online and you register. But yeah, you don't have to get sponsors, you don't have to walk, none of that. Just come on out. Yeah, gripcares.org if you want to go online and register. Okay, thank you all so much.
Thank you, Lottie, and thank you, Ray. Please join me in dedicating our offering. Oops. There's an offertory first. I'm not going to do that.
bandits break in, sound the alarm.
Care for this house, shine it by hand, and keep it so clean the glow can be seen all over the land. Be careful at night, check all the doors. If someone makes off with a dream, the dream will be yours. Take care of this house, be always on call, for this house is the hope of us all.
Take care of this house, keep it from harm. If bandits break in, sound the alarm.
Care for this house, shine it by hand, and keep it so clean the glow can be seen all over the land.
Be careful at night, check all the doors. If someone makes off with a dream, the dream will be yours. Take care of this house, be always on guard. Care for this house, it's the hope of us all.
Now we can dedicate our offering. Please join me. We dedicate our offering and ourselves to the mission of this congregation to create loving community, inspire spiritual growth, and encourage lives of integrity, joy, and service.
I want to share with you a few things happening in the life of our community. Next Sunday, we'll be diving into pneumatology, so you don't want to miss that. The breath and the garden outside the house. But also after the service at 1:30, there's a choral concert with singers from our congregation and the wider community and a professional string orchestra. Tickets are on the website. You can always find out what's happening on the website. If you go to the homepage and check the news section, you'll find things there. In a couple weeks after that, the Parents' Night Out is happening, Saturday, October 21st. It's 4 to 8 o'clock in the evening. Childcare is provided here, a little moment for parents, and then a time to get out and have some fun. So hope that you can put that on your calendar. Enjoy a night out on us. You do need to RSVP for that, though. And then the following day, Sunday the 22nd, we're having a Social Justice Sunday. It's going to finish this arc we've had of worship about our theological house, and we'll be talking about the windows looking out beyond our walls. And if you can, come early that Sunday on the 22nd. There'll be goodies before the service. There'll be information and games, activities all throughout the building about our social justice work. So you might find a team to work with or inspiring work to be proud of. Would you rise once more in body or in spirit, and let's sing our closing hymn together. It's 354. We laugh, we cry. touch a shoulder, connect an elbow, or just reach out to that mysterious beyond. Feel ourselves connected to this greater world beyond, to one another here, and to that deepest self. We believe in life. We believe in the strength of love. May your feet find a strong foundation to support your sacred self, however you show up in this holy world. May it be so, and amen.